Okay, more maintenance. I know maintenance doesn't make for very exciting videos, but pretty much all we can do at the moment, at least until we can get the grass knocked down on the track and we can actually go out and do some running again. So you can have that, mate. Pretty much all we got to do is take this torque tune motor out and put the standard motor back in, but we've also got to extend the wires on this motor. I think I mentioned that in the last video. So which one is the torque tune? Is that one? It's in the front. Alright. Get our tool set out. I found the easiest way to do this. I think I might have showed this in the wild one video maybe. Where's that silver tin magnet? Parts tin. Thanks. Everything in here, so every time I fix a car and I just throw parts on the bench, they go missing. I don't know where they go. I just know that they're not there anymore. Okay, easiest way I found to do this is just take a wheel off the side where the motor screws into, like the motor sits on this side of the transmission. Screws come in from this side. And then we just undo these three screws on the trailing arm, or 3x6 screws, so careful you don't lose them. Take them ones out, and then we unscrew this arm here. I can't remember what it's called. Suspension stay, I think they call it in the manual, but I forget its real name. And then that lets us just drop that arm out the way so we can get to these two motor screws. Now, before I do that, really should unplug this motor from the ESC. If I don't, that'll make it a bit difficult to get out. That zip tie. It's just a matter of these two. I'll get a box. That's easier. Should buy some of those scale axle stands. That'd be pretty cool. Right, so both of the motor screws are out. The motor plate should stay on there. If it doesn't, it's not a big deal. Now, you don't need to drop the other side arm off because let's just feed these motor wires through, because that'll just pivot up and out of the way and leave your motor out of your clod. And yeah, I've just turned it up and that motor plate's still sitting on there, so that's good. So we can put that away for a sec. So what we have to do, can you see her right there? You're a bit far away, aren't you? Can you zoom in there, mate? When I fitted these to the clod originally, I just I just cut the wires as long as I could from the torque tune motor, and then cut the extended wires off the standard motor that came with the clod. But this time, all I'm going to do is unsolder the wires from each motor and just swap the wires over. Should be very simple. So I'm just gonna, I don't even have the soldering iron plugged in, warming up. So I'm just going to cut the heat shrink of this negative wire and expose that soldered joint. Do it on both motors. Actually, while I get the pinion set tool, and I'll just change this pinion over while we're waiting for that soldering iron to heat up. It's going to take a while, so you guys go and get a You guys go and get a beer or a drink or something. So, I'm just going to hold the motor in the handle of these pliers here. A sec. Now we do have these soldering fingers from that would make Pete. I don't know if I'm going to need this doing this job. We can get that out of the way. I also need to make or buy a stand for the soldering iron because we don't have anywhere to set it. It'll set fine on the bench here. Just got to be careful not to knock it. Land on your foot, you get a bit of a burn. So we might actually zoom into that motor there, mate, if we can. Alright, so iron's heated up. You might be wondering, you're trying to take that wire off, why are you holding the solder? Well, I found you introduce some solder, it helps get the other solders started sometimes. Just helps kick it off. Of course, now that I'm doing all this on camera, I'm going to make it look as hard as I possibly can. So you just got to remember the yellow wire goes on the red dot, yellow wire goes on the silver dot. There's exciting viewing, isn't it? Right, that's those two wires done. What we've got to do is take these two off and put them on there. I don't know if I'll put these shorter wires back on the torque tune today, but we might do that as we need it, because we might need a we don't know what car that torque tune is going in yet, so we might need longer motor wires, might not. As the iron's heating up more, it's getting easier to melt this solder. Okay, so we can put that away. Now, since yellow went on the red, since the terminal and the wire, actually, you know what? Since the terminal and the wire is basically already tinned, you don't need to do it, but I'm going to try Pete's stand here and try and position the wire so that there's some force on the actual wire holding it down. Give this a go. I hate these cheap irons. Really got to buy a decent one like that. And so, then of course, every time I go to try and solder, I just can't stop shaking. Well, it's on there. If that did make it a lot easier, if I can stop shaking, it'll be great. And I did what I usually do. I didn't put any heat shrink on. So I'm going to redo this one. Might make you watch that. You don't need to watch it twice. Redo this one and get some heat shrink on that wire. So that's our positive on. I've got the heat shrink on there now. I've got heat shrink on the negative as well, even though they don't use it out of the Tamiya factory for the negative. But I'm going to use it. I actually don't like where that's sitting. Very difficult for me to solder just because I shake so much. Years of just basically doing damaging things to my hands and wrists. A lot of working with tools and power tools that vibrate and whippersnippers and a lot of drumming and stuff like that. A lot of nerve damage. But you don't need to hear about that, so I need something to melt this heat shrink. Thanks, mate. So Zach just bought me a damp sponge so I can clean off my iron I actually probe, I guess you call it, for the iron. I actually turned down a piece of 1/4 inch brass rod in the lathe, and it seems to work a lot better than the original probe that was in there. That's our motor soldered up. We just need to shrink this heat shrink. We have a heat source here, and then we can get that back in the car. The clod will be off and running again. Alright, that's our motor done. Heat shrink's all shrunk up. Now we can get this back in the car. Right, so from memory, the manual tells you to fit the motor so that the yellow wire is facing down. I'm not sure why that's important, but that's what we're going to do. So, reassembly is just a reversal of disassembly. That goes in there, and we'll worry about poking the wires through in a minute. And of course, because this pinion mesh is set, all you have to do is find that screw hole. I always forget to look where it actually is. And if we come in through the bottom, it might be easier to see. Lay that over like that. I'm making this look way more awkward than it should be. Okay, so there's our motor hole. I'll get my head in the way here, sorry. Once we get this first screw in, first screw is in, it's not done up tight yet, but second screw, as I was going to say, since the pinion mesh is set by the location of the screw holes, it's just a matter of turning the motor so that you feel the pinion up against the spur gear, and then back it off a tiny bit until the screw lands in the hole. And that's it, motor's fitted. So screw these arms back on. This is the quickest and easiest way I found to change a motor on the Clod. You don't have to take a whole bunch of parts off. It can be a little bit fiddly, because some stuff is still in the way a bit, but do it a few times to get used to it. Now this trailing arm, just need to line up that metal plate. Once you get one screw in, the rest are really simple. Again, leave all your screws a little loose until you've got all the screws in. Makes things a lot easier. Sometimes they just don't line up. So nice and tight. While I'm here, I might as well double check the front ones. We have had these come loose before on Zach's Clod, the Black Edition. So probably not a bad idea to put a tiny bit of gel thread lock on that metal part. You don't need a lot. It's just there to stop the screw backing out. Now, where's my axle stand? Now we can get his wheel back on, won't we? Yeah. Didn't think a Clod wheel would be difficult to find. You just need to run it back and forth until you can line up those locators. What I am going to need is the Clod manual, because I forget which way these motor wires go. So I need to poke these wires through underneath the chassis here. Maybe I should have done this before. Screwed everything in. There we go. One. There's another one. Moving back over. Getting down to some tweezers. What was that? I don't know. Joys of living in Australia. I just felt something randomly run up my leg, or down my leg. Well, it might have been a gecko, but it was a piece of paper out of the manual that Zach's mucking around with there. You learn pretty quick not to panic when things like that happen. So, the issue I have, I think I might have another issue actually. I reckon that motor should have gone in there. See, this motor in the rear, I took out of the wild one, and the wild one motor has extended wires already. And I was thinking they'd be long enough. But, just looking at this, I may have been mistaken once again. Or maybe. Let me just find that green wire. It's like playing Operation when you're a kid. Right, so I think we might just have enough length there. We've got length in the speed control. So what I need the manual for is, obviously we've got blue and yellow wires on the speed controller and green and yellow wires on the motors, but one of the motors is wired back to front. I don't know if it matters which motor's wired back to front, but it does tell you in the manual. So rear motor, right, that's your motor side, that's your ESC side. So let's just start with that. We're on the rear there. The rear, the motor, it's way up there, I can't see it. You can show me, you can tell me. The yellow from the motor goes to what, blue?
Blue, yeah.
Blue. Right, yellow to blue, so obviously green to yellow.
Mm-hmm.
Can't be any other way, can it? And the front,
Yellow on the motor goes to yellow on the ESC.
so yellow to yellow, right. I knew it was back to front on one of them. So I'm just going to tidy that up with a zip tie, and we might actually give it a test run just on the bench here. So Zach, I need a battery. I need the Tamiya to Dean's adapter that's in the Subaru Brat sitting over there, because we're still yet to convert all of our cars to Dean's. We're getting there. So, fine. And I need a radio. I don't know if this is bound to this radio or not, but we're going to find out. So battery here, that's our little adapter there. Are you in shot there? Can you blokes see or what? Mike, in the interest of safety and comedy. Switch on. Beeping and lights happening. Just waiting for that and the fan's going. Oh, while we're mucking around with this, I'll ask you guys a question. Which way is the fan supposed to blow air? Is it supposed to blow air onto the ESC or draw air away from the ESC? I never knew. I'd never really run fans on ESCs before. So if one of you guys can let us know in the comments. Right, beep. Forward is forward. That sounds a lot better than it sounded with the two torque tube motors. Alright. Hello little dog. You want to chase the clod around the house? Okay. Let's see clod up and running again. Beauty. We can take these out for a bit of a spin. The track doesn't have to be well trimmed and any of that for these cars, do they? Does it? Right, buddy. So speaking of motors, something else I might do in this video is in the last video you would have seen swapping the diffs over in the Porsche. I actually powered it up this morning and the motor didn't smell too good. Felt like it was burning, and the brushes are sparking a lot in reverse. So we might pull the Porsche motor out, give it another run in a cup of water. Although I've never been a fan of that, but a lot of people do it. So, and talking to Uncle Bob, he reckons he's not a fan of it either, and he knows a lot more about running in motors than I do, since he used to race clods actually. And we also have a new can of contact cleaner, so we're going to give that a go. There you go, clod's up and running. You might see the motor getting cleaned in the Porsche, you might not, because we're going to call this video here and then edit it, and if it's not too long we'll put the Porsche motor at the end of it. If it is too long you won't see the Porsche motor. So if you got this far, yeah, I don't know if you're going to see it or not. Alright, thanks for watching. Have a good day. Thanks for your support. All the usual good things. Let's go rip some clods around.